Hey, welcome to That Sounds Gay. I'm in. I'm Cy.
And I'm Matt.
So, actually, this week you get both of us back again. Month of January, we kind of split apart and did our own little things. I had conversations with people about the military. You had conversations with Rachel about the process of gender affirming care. And now we're back together to talk about politics. Figured with
Yeah.
the inauguration,
Yeah, welcome back. It's nice to be back with you.
he says.
Yeah, well, I missed you a little bit. So, let's get in it, shall we?
Yep. Okay. Welcome back. This week, we are actually going to be talking about queer politics domestic, so strictly local to the United States exclusively. Next week, we're going to be branching out a little bit and talking about the rest of the world. While there's a lot going on, we might touch on more, maybe make things more of like a series later on down the road, but we kind of just wanted to talk about things and just kind of get started. So,
Yeah, we just want to hit on some key points and just, talk about a few things and how queer politics shape the world. And there's a lot going on with queer politics, and we can't get into everything. There's just so much going on because queerness is around. It's in the world, and we're here. We're in every aspect of the life, including queer politics. And when queer people are in anything, including queer politics, we shape things. And just like anybody shapes things with politics, queer people shape things with politics. And we just want to touch on that a little bit in the next 2 weeks, if we could.
yep. So everything did kind of kick off with, truth be told, I think it was Harvey Milk was the first one.
Harvey Milk, he was a real ambassador. He really put himself out there and, a real hero of mine, a real trailblazer. You think, as me as a trans person, or any queer person, you go from being in the closet and then you have to put yourself out there. Could you imagine being the first politician to say, I'm going to go out and, when you go out and you come out as to your family, could you imagine going out to the world in politics?
Especially as the very first one. I mean, to this
Right.
day, it's still an odd. I don't want to say odd, but it's like less known that a member of the LGBT community runs for any form of an office. Not for any kind of bad reason, but just yeah,
It is so scary. I mean, I think about how, I've considered running for politics in the future. I'm not announcing anything by far means. I doubt that I ever will. But I mean, I've considered it, and that's, scary. I know people that have ran for politics, and to put yourself out there, even in today's world, it is incredibly scary. And you think of people that, put themselves out there and won. It's just an incredible battle when you have to fight your sexuality on top of your political beliefs. If you think of, um, uh, uh, the transgender woman that just, got into politics from Delaware, she has to fight, her battles, right now, just with bathrooms. And she's like, I'm not here to play politics about me being trans. I'm here to play politics for my Delaware people. And you have to fight both battles. And Harvey Milk had to do that as the first one, and to be that trailblazer. That takes incredible cojones. I mean, the amount of threats, and and thank goodness he didn't have social media.
yeah. I mean, you get death threats for just even existing as a politician. Period. Let alone
Well,
being
yeah, I get them just being who I am now. I mean, I couldn't imagine being a politician,
yeah.
you know.
And then politicians get it just like the downside behind politics is all politicians. I say this in a broad statement, so obviously there's going to be the exception out there, but it honestly feels most of the time like all politicians are corrupt. So you end up getting to the whole like you're going to piss off somebody no matter what you do. In politics, it's physically impossible to make everybody happy, and then you add the gay aspect on top of that, and it just yeah.
If you've ever had chickenpox, the virus may still be hiding in your body, waiting to reactivate as shingles. Shingles is a painful rash that can cause long-lasting nerve pain, and the risk increases as you age. But there's a way to protect yourself: the shingles vaccine. This safe and effective vaccine dramatically lowers your chance of getting shingles or experiencing severe complications like post-herpetic neuralgia. Don't wait for shingles to disrupt your life. Take control of your health. Ask your doctor about shingles vaccine today. A simple shot can prevent pain and help you enjoy life worry-free.
Every year, millions of us are sidelined by the cold and flu, but it doesn't have to be this way. A simple cold and flu vaccine is your best defense, reducing the risk of severe illness for you and your loved ones. Protect what matters most. It's quick, easy, and more important than ever, because staying healthy means staying together.
Yeah, I mean, and so we owe Harvey Milk so much. And
Which actually, one little correction: Harvey Milk was not the first politician to be openly LGBT and elected to office. The very first politician goes to an Elaine Noble. She was a state legislator that was elected 3 years before Harvey Milk became on the board of supervisors. That happened in
really, go
1974,
Elaine.
and
Go
she was
Elaine.
the first Democratic state legislator of LGBT origin.
Go Elaine. Way to go. And she's not as well known as Harvey Milk, so we
Well, I
want to
mean,
give
Harvey Milk
Elaine
did flat out get a movie made about him.
yeah, so we want to give Elaine credit. And we're talking, if you want to go like 20 years before that, when you go with President Eisenhower's executive order, was it 10450 labeled LGBTQ people a security threat and banned from federal jobs. So
The
this
Lavender
was,
Haze.
yeah, the Lavender Haze. I mean, this was a huge deal if you think about it, because this is when we had J. Edgar Hoover was our head of the FBI, and they had people try to get him out by saying that he was a crossdresser. I mean, and this was like a huge rumor. Like this was even in the movies when I was growing up. I knew this as a child from like the movie Airplane. This was a huge rumor because people wanted to get him out by saying that he was queer. And we don't know if he was. I doubt. Or he was. I don't know. I don't care. And if he was, good for him. If he wasn't, then I'm sorry that he was rumored and he never confirmed, but he did deny. But people were trying to get people out of jobs by saying that they were queer, out of their secure jobs, and by threatening that, oh, this person is gay, we need to get them out of their job. And so for a politician to say, I am gay and I want this federal job, that's a huge, huge risk.
Yeah, and going back to that whole thing with the, like, yeah, they would use being gay as a almost weapon to try to get people out of their jobs, but people would also use it as a way of trying to, people that would regret joining the military, for example, would turn around and use the whole lavender scare thing as a way of getting out of the military. It was
Yes,
such a prominent thing. It made its way into TV shows. I mean, it was like practically a focal point of the television series MASH.
right. Then they wouldn't let people out of the military because they were faking it. And they made jokes about it on TV shows and movies. And like you said, on MASH, but like on other movies.
Family Guy.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, and so they made jokes about it, but they also used this to get people that they didn't want. Like people would accuse people for being too friendly with other women. And so they needed it because they were advancing too much. And so they would get them out of the military by saying that they were too close to another female. So they might be lesbians. And so this was, being accused of being queer was weaponized and in politics. And so this was like this lavender haze was a huge deal. And so in 1975, that's when, and this is, right after Elaine took office, things started to change a little bit. We have Harvey Milk. He came right around 1975. Is that correct?
1977.
Yeah. Okay. So right before then, you had the first federal gay bill was introduced to address discrimination based on sexual orientation. The bill went to the Judiciary Committee and then died. I mean, it was never even brought to consideration. But it was the first bill introduced in 1975, which was a big deal. And then the Civil Service Commission announced that gay people could no longer be fired from the federal employment based on their sexuality. So that was a big deal in 1975.
And then Don't Ask, Don't Tell came around. So you could be gay, but don't tell anybody.
But don't tell anybody.
So it's only dangerous if you tell people about it.
But you could still be accused of it and get kicked out. And so these politics was still in play in the United States. Clear until 20 years later, President Bill Clinton signed an executive order that prohibited the government from discriminating based on sexual orientation when granting access to classified information. Like before then, like you couldn't get classified information if you're gay. And the whole idea of this was your brain was deviant, abnormal if you were gay. For some reason, gay people were considered deviant people, mental illness, wrong. But President Bill Clinton in 1995 said you can have classified information, that you're not President Eisenhower thought that we were going to run to Russia and give information.
Specifically communism, too. And it was really...
Specifically communism, that we were communist if we were gay.
Which I feel like the Lavender Scare mixing with the Red Scare kind of... I feel like that was... I don't want to say... No, I do. I do want to say planned. I feel like that was why everybody was... Because that was right around the same time as the Red Scare was going on, so everybody was already afraid of communism. So tacking on that and adding that extra part to it, if you're already got an army of people that are scared of something, adding that other person to that group of that group, now you have everybody hating that too.
Well, I think you bring up an interesting point. Fear can be used as a weapon, and it's been used against the community a lot. When it comes to fear, we use fear. It's a tactic. It's a tactic that politicians, leaders use. Like, if I don't want people to like a certain community, I can say something like, if I don't like little brown-headed boys, I'm going to say that because you're a brown-headed boy and so am I. I don't like little brown-headed boys. I could say little brown-headed boys have dirty knees. All of them have dirty knees, and dirty knees causes the chicken pox. And so stay away from little brown-headed boys because they have dirty knees. And so all the little kids should stay away from them. And I tell that to little kids, and little kids will believe that. So when you have government leaders that rule over people, they believe what their leaders say because they look to their leaders for advice and guidance, the same way that little kids look to their adults for guidance and wisdom. And you tend to believe that. And so if they tell you a statement of fear, you tend to believe that.
And sometimes it doesn't even have to make sense. Like back in the day, it was believed that if a woman was too emotional and erratic, it was called like wandering womb syndrome, where the womb was believed to move around, and it was just, wait, what?
Yeah, like I said, little boys have dirty knees that cause chicken pox. You believe this stuff because the person that you were told to believe gives you this false information and makes you fear somebody. Then you believe that fear, and then and as you talk to other people that believe it, you add on to it, and you believe this fear, and you move through life with this fear. And fear is a great tactic. And that's why having political people in power that make these guidances is important. And that's why it's important to have the right people in power. And so 3 years later, we're talking about 1995, when President Bill Clinton was like, this is false. People that are queer can have classified information. They're not going to run to Russia and sell all of our top secrets. They can be trusted. So in 1998, he signed an executive order that banned anti-gay discrimination against federal employees. So that was a great deal. And so, we're definitely moving in the right direction at that point.
Yeah. And then Obama actually got rid of the original executive order entirely. And the fact that it took all the way until 2017, though.
Right. Yeah. But but before that, in 2011, they got rid of "Don't Ask, Don't Tell"
Yeah.
in the military. So then you could serve openly gay. So that was a step. And yeah, like you said, and then 2017, President Barack Obama got rid of President Eisenhower's order. He got it off the books. But yeah, I mean, you're talking over 50, 60 years. I mean, that it was on the books that says that we're communists. And
A lot of the times, though, certain laws they exist, but they are never upheld. Like, um, the Spanish flu back in 1912. It was basically COVID before COVID. Like it had a much higher kill ratio to it, but like it was a influenza based disease. And when that happened, states like Nevada actually put it on the books where it was illegal to walk around the state without a face mask. And it those laws are still technically laws, even though they are
right,
never enforced. And during the whole COVID-19 debacle, it was like the entire country was having problems with face masks. And this included the state of Nevada, where technically, even before COVID, it was illegal to walk around without a face mask. Nobody upheld it, but it was still there. Sometimes laws are pointless.
right. But that's why it's important to sometimes look what's on the law book and go back and remove things. And that's what President Barack Obama did is he was like, look, while I'm in office, we're going to remove this language from the law books. And so it doesn't harm queer people in the future. And so even though he wasn't a queer politician, he helped the queer community. So he removed it so it couldn't, so that like you said, for the Spanish flu, that was 100-year law that could come back and help the community or harm the community. But President Barack Obama was like, this is an old law that is useless. So let's get it off the books so it doesn't come back with a future executive chief in command that can use it to harm the queer community again. Let's go ahead and remove it. It's not being used for years, but let's go ahead and get it off the books so it can't come back and be used again.
One of the biggest and ultimately, I mean, yeah, the biggest problem I have with everything is everything, in my opinion, boils down to the court case of Lawrence v. Texas from the year 2003, I think. I'll double check that and possibly. But yeah, with Lawrence v. Texas, the whole point behind it was that it was illegal to have sex, have any form of gay sex back in the year 2003 and backwards. Like it was even just that recent. And people were arrested for it, even though it was deemed that it was a baseless law. It was a law that was just strictly there on the books that was impossible to be upheld because this required them to actually catch you in the act of doing that in your own home where they wouldn't have a reason to. And then it actually happened. The police were responding to a specific event and they ended up, or it was a weapons call. They went there and they caught these two guys having sex. They ended up arresting them for the charge, but then it was entirely thrown out altogether due to the law, or due to the basis of personal privacy. So how can how can we have court cases like Lawrence v. Texas, but yet also have issues like Don't Ask, Don't Tell? How is it both personal things that your personal privacy that is in your bedroom and the U.S. government doesn't have any say based off of that court case, but then also, yes, we do.
Right. Then that's why it's important to advocate and to change laws. I have friends because, I know several people in the queer community as a queer leader and a queer advocate. Like I know several people that have been to prison for sodomy, for having gay sex. And because, their boyfriend, was a closeted person and their parents found out and all of a sudden they, had unconsensual sex with a man because the closeted person's parents found out and then all of a sudden they're in prison for an old law. Fortunately, we don't have those laws in Kansas anymore. But other states sometimes still do. And so I had people that have been in prison in the past for old laws. And that's why it's important to remove these laws. And then we have other laws like conversion camps that we're still trying to get rid of and things like that. And that's why queer politics is so important is to repeal these old laws and get these old things off the books so we don't have these things continually happen like that case down in Texas. I know when I was a dispatcher at a police department, they went out because they noticed somebody trying to think. Me in my memory, a place where you pull over and a rest stop. Thank you. I couldn't think. A rest stop, and it was two men meeting up, and not an appropriate place to meet up. But we know that that's where some people kind of hook up at times, and the police officer gave them both a ticket for hooking up. And I don't know if they would have given them a ticket if they were a straight couple.
I mean, that is still against the law if you're a straight couple.
It's still against the law.
I feel like in the grand scheme of things, they actually could have had a lot worse happen to them. I knew this one person one time who got
worse happen to them.
Person that one time actually got put on a sex offender list because this was a heterosexual person who stopped their car on a highway outside of city limits and took a piss outside.
Yeah,
but because
it's completely illegal because they exposed themselves.
Yep.
Yeah.
A cop saw it, and that cop, I guess, was having a bad day or something. I don't know what, and everything went out of control, and he ended up on a sex offenders list.
Yeah. Wow.
I don't know if that ever ended up getting repealed. I ended up losing touch with him, but yeah.
I hope so. But yeah, I know those things can happen. And so, I mean, it's absolutely, and so it all depends on, and we know, how cops are. And so you have to be careful. And that's why we need to get these laws off the books. And that's why it's important to have queer people in politics. And so we can make changes. And that's why we're talking about this today. So more key figures. We have Tammy Baldwin, was the first openly LGBTQ plus senator. Her impact was on healthcare inequality. She did a lot of great work. And then, have you ever heard of Pete?
Buttigieg?
Yeah, I've never heard of him.
Yeah,
I've never heard of him. I haven't heard of him. Have you? He's done a little bit of work, I hear.
Mostly in the 2020 presidential race. It wasn't nothing very forefront. Nothing very like.
He talks a lot on TV, and he's a good voice for the queer community. I have some good and bad things to say about Pete, and but he's been a good voice for the queer community for the last 4 years, and I see him continuing being a good voice. He is very careful about how he speaks. And I appreciate that about him. There's some things I don't like about him, but overall, I'm very happy with what he's done for the queer community. And I think he's done more for the queer community than the Department of Transportation. I'm sure he's done a lot for the Department of Transportation. I just don't know anything about the Department of Transportation. I'm sure he's done a lot for the roads. Kansas roads are really good compared to some of the surrounding states. I will say that. But as far as the United States transportation, I don't know what all he does. But when he does speak out for queer politics, he does a really good job. So, but anyway, so I would like to see him run for office again. I don't think he's done with politics. I foresee him running for president again in the future. He's young. I think we're going to see him around some more because I don't foresee him keeping his job at Department of Transportation. I think it's already gone, if I believe.
As far as I'm aware, it's still. As far as I'm aware, he's still a part of it. I will be.
I'm sure the current administration has replaced it because that's a president-appointed position.
Yes.
And so I'm not sure where he's going to land. I have a friend.
As of the filming of this episode.
Yes. But by the time this episode comes out, he'll have a new position or
things could
will be
potentially have changed. Yes.
Yes, because all of that is changing. I have a friend that is a president appointed and she is looking for a new job. And so that's just, that just happens when the administration changes. And that's just part of politics. But that just happens. My friend is going to go back to her hometown and will probably run for, something in the future. And that's just what happens when things change. And that's okay. But he's not done. He's got a long way to go. And he's got, 2 beautiful children and a husband. And so he's got a lot more to go. Then is it Martina McBride that just got the seat from the openly transgender woman from Delaware? I
You
believe
mean
that is
Sarah
her
McBride?
name. Sarah McBride. Martina McBride is the singer. Sarah McBride. Me and names. Sarah McBride, the openly transgender woman that's going to be serving in the Senate from Delaware. She is an excellent speaker. And she's been given a hard time and she's getting bullied. But I think that she's got a lot of things to say and she's putting her transness aside for politics. And I think her leadership is going to show. And I think that we're going to see a lot of good things out of her. And she's a good role model. She's somebody that you're going to see that puts politics first and their queerness second. But I think that she's going to advance queerness because she does that. And I think that that's the right way to do things. We'll see some good things. And as more people, because like I said, we're in all facets of life. And as that continues to, as I encourage people to go into politics, because when we go into politics and we go into everything in life, or I should say, I don't discourage you from going into politics because you should go into whatever your passion is. If your passion is painting, go into painting. If your passion is writing, go into writing. If your passion is politics, go into politics. Don't be discouraged because of whatever country you're in or whatever the political environment is, because things change because of the people that are in the station of their employment. These key figures have changed the environment of the United States with where they are in life, and everybody does. If you're working at Sonic and you go in as a car hop and you're a queer person and you're the only queer person at that Sonic, you're going to change the environment of that Sonic. And
Even if it's not a lot, like
yes,
every person changes, even outside of the queer aspect of everything. Like if you take somebody who is a giant nerd and throw them into a room full of nothing but mechanics, eventually you're going to start hearing random nerdy comments that are going to get your presence has an impact on everything around you. And that's why it's so important that the governments in general, all governments, have the full representation of their people in all aspects of everything. Not having somebody join into politics just strictly because they're gay or because they're of a specific nationality erases the voices of those people, because while other people might think of those problems that are directly affecting that community, the people that are a part of that community are going to recognize what their community needs the most. And that's why it's so important that we always have everybody represented, so that way nobody really gets left out.
absolutely. And that's the idea of a democracy, is having everybody represented. And that's
Unfortunately,
why
it doesn't really work out that way a lot of the times, though.
that doesn't. But that's what we need, is we need that representation. And I like seeing people like me representing me. And so I don't like just seeing heterosexual cis people in politics. And so it's nice to see people that are trans and queer in politics, because then I feel like I'm more represented. And but even when they're not, and they support our community, like Barack Obama, he did some for our community, and Laura Kelly in Kansas has done some for our community. There's people that defend our community, and these people that are in politics, do your passion, and because you influence people and you influence some change. And so that's what we want to see. And so that's what I want to encourage you to do. Wherever you are in life, be you, and things will be authentic. That's the point. Be authentic, and your authentic self will influence people around you. And even if it's not in politics, your authentic self will influence those around you. And when you influence those around you, maybe they will make a change.
Yeah. But I feel like that's probably a good place to wrap up for this week.
I think so too.
Next week, we'll be talking outside of the United States and discussing other places and how their LGBT laws and politicians affect their communities. So with all that being said, we'll see you guys next week.
Sounds good. So I will see you next week.